us say about who you are, why you're here, what your message is to Cuomo?
Sure. I'm Ken Jaffe. I own and operate Slope Farms, which is in Delaware County, New York, and we produce beef, which is sold to wholesale to retail stores, butcher shops, and restaurants in the Catskills and mostly down in New York City. And we're really concerned about hydro-fracking. We think it'll be a disaster to regional farming, especially sustainable farming, on a lot of levels. It'll affect crop production because of the high ozone levels like we're seeing in rural areas out west, which has USDA says has major negative impacts on crop yield, so it'll affect the economics of farm productivity. I'm really concerned about livestock health from spills because each drill pad, and there will be the plan is to have one drill pad per square mile. Each drill pad, they will be handling tens of millions of gallons of toxic fluid, transporting in, pushing down into the ground, transporting out. There are already numerous substantial and often unreported spills of surface water, which then flows down into the sources that animals are mostly drinking from, which are ponds and streams. We've had multiple episodes of animal death. We've had, huge fines of Chesapeake down in Louisiana from mass cattle deaths. We've had quarantine of cattle in Pennsylvania, and we've had many episodes reported by farmers of cattle and other livestock death and stillbirths, most of which have not been investigated by public officials or public health authorities. So my concern from a food safety point of view is that residues from those spills and that water will end up in the food supply, and there's really no mechanism in place to be testing food from farms that are in close proximity to fracking with the spills. I'm really concerned personally about customer acceptance because my largest customer in New York City, which buys many millions of dollars worth of New York State products, has written a public letter saying they will not purchase agricultural products from areas where there's active hydro-fracking. And, they buy 40% of my meat. We ship them about a steer every week. And, so if they pull out, basically we're at a business, and, that'll sort of cascade down the line to the meat processor, to the haymaker, to the truckers. We put about $3,000 per acre of our farm into the local economy, and that will be gone. I'm really concerned about farmer health and the health in rural America from the water quality because we've seen more and more problems with water contamination, drinking water contamination, and the DEC has pretty much said that there's risk to drinking water by banning it in certain aquifers. What they've decided is to ban it in aquifers that are providing well water for reasonable, mid-sized cities like, Portland and Binghamton and, Syracuse is surface water, but Corning, but that's about 300,000 people. But aquifers, which are, right next to those, which are being used for drinking water by another 850,000 people, are not getting protected, even though they're exposed to the same risk. And we know those risks are substantial. There have been dozens of cases of well water contamination in Pennsylvania and million-dollar fines of drillers by the Pennsylvania DEP. We've had the EPA filing emergency orders against drillers in Texas, citing imminent threat to public health because of benzene in the drinking water and explosive levels of methane in the drinking water. We've seen Duke researchers this year show a clear relationship between drilling activity and explosive levels of methane in home drinking water wells. The New York Times last month reported that there have been hundreds of cases of drinking water contamination from hydrofracking where the cases were sealed because of payments to arrangements with the homeowners so that public health officials didn't have access to those records so they could really assess. Of course, this is all during a period of time where the drillers were saying there's never been a reported case of drinking water contamination, which we now know very clearly is not the case. So, I'm just really concerned about farmer and rural health given this double standard for treatment of groundwater in the DEC's proposed regulations. Really, it's not equal protection for rural residents. I come at this from a sort of unusual standpoint because we've been farming for 10 years, but before that, I practiced medicine for 25 years, family medicine. So I, come at this from a farmer's perspective with sort of a physician's eye, and we should be very concerned. There really is clearly not a safe way to do hydrofracking, and doing experiments on, hundreds of thousands of people without their permission is really not what the DEC should be proposing.